Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as a representative of the Islamic Organization for Food Security, one of the proudly co-organizers of this important event, it takes us a pride to be here among you this morning to have this panel. This panel, as our esteemed Master of Ceremony mentioned, will be focused on initiatives that some of our institutions that are part of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation are entertaining in the domain of food security. Perhaps before I move a little bit and giving the floor to my distinguished panelists, I need to speak a little bit about OIC because some of you may not know what is exactly OIC. You see, in the world, we have the biggest international organization system, which is the United Nations. But mostly majority countries thought that they needed also to have their own system where some of the challenges will be addressed from the Islamic perspective as well. So they established the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, particularly after the plight of issues of Palestine in the early 70s. This institution is based in Saudi Arabia in the city of Jeddah and congregates 57 member states. And within its structure, it has several agencies, subsidiary agencies, specialized agencies, affiliated agencies, and standing committees. Today, in this panel, we have 3 of these agencies. Of course, IOFS, it's a specialized agency that works on food security, established in 2013. We have His Excellency Mr. Azar Bayramov, who is the Director General of the OIC Labor Center, based in Baku, Azerbaijan, one of the newest OIC agencies that deals with labor issues, and Mr. Davron, who is representing the Statistical, Economic and Social Research and Training Center for Muslim majority countries, SESRIC, that's based in Ankara, Republic of Turkey. So within the context of food security and within the respective domains, our distinguished panelists will be speaking of what are they doing or the institutions are doing in terms of tackling the subject of this important panel. Without further ado, allow me to give the floor to His Excellency to somehow shed a light on what the OIC Labor Center is somehow doing to supporting rural employment, for instance, and vocational training in agriculture and food production, promotion of decent work and fair labor practice within food system, and advocating for policies that link labor security to sustainable food systems within the OIC member states. So without further ado, Excellency, please, you have the floor. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As our brother Manafi already mentioned, the Labor Center of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is newly established institution of the OIC. We started to function from the beginning of this year. It's a strategic international institution aimed at consolidating and empowering the labor, employment, and human capital development efforts of OIC member states. When we talk today about agriculture, of course, we need to pay special attention to the labor and employment issues because this is the part of the whole challenge. It's honor and privilege to address you today on behalf of the Labor Center on an issue which is critical to all our OIC member states, food security. Food security is multifaceted challenge, intricately linked to climate change, global economic instability, and shifting demographic trends. These challenges may seem overwhelming, but they also present an opportunity to harness the potential of human capital and labor as a key drivers of the sustainable solutions. Technological progress, including the automation of agricultural process, has undoubtedly increased productivity. However, it has also led to significant job displacement. At the Labor Center, we firmly believe that labor is the backbone of sustainable food system. By empowering workers, particularly in rural areas, we can build resilient agricultural practices and foster food systems that are inclusive and sustainable. Let me outline 3 key areas of action we are focusing on and call upon OIC member states and institutions to join us in 3 efforts. First and foremost is eradicating child labor in agriculture as one of the most pressing challenges we face in the prevalence of child labor in the agriculture sector. According to data provided by Food and Agriculture Organization, globally agriculture accounts for 70% of child labor, with over 112 million boys and girls engaged in hazardous conditions. Among children in hazardous work worldwide, 59% are in agriculture. As the International Labour Organization states, these figures are aiming and they compel us to act decisively. The OIC Labour Center is committed to advocating for the elimination of child labor in agriculture by promoting policies, advocating for labor standards and rights that supports families and encourage children towards education, not exploitation. The second area is empowering rural employment through skill development. Agriculture remains the largest employer in many OIC member states, especially in rural areas. As of 2020, agriculture remains a dominant sector in many OIC countries, with over 70% of land dedicated to agriculture in some states. However, agricultural workers often lack access to modern technologies and innovations. The OIC Labour Center is addressing this by offering vocational training and skills development programs that equip farmers and agricultural workers with modern farming techniques, sustainable practices, and climate resilient innovations. By doing so, we not only increase productivity, but also enable rural communities to adapt to evolving challenges, including those posed by climate change. Investing in rural employment is investing in the foundation of the food security. Last but not least, less important is promoting decent work and fair labor practices. The productivity and sustainability of food systems hinge on the well-being of workers across the entire supply chain, from agriculture to food processing and distribution. It's imperative to ensure fair wages, safe working conditions, and access to social protection for these workers. The OIC Labour Center advocates for policies that protect workers' rights and empower them to thrive. When workers are treated with dignity and respect, their contributions become a driving force for sustainable and resilient food systems. We plan to launch the project that will work on occupational safety and health and support just transition among 5 OIC member states, with a further goal to expand this scope by involving more OIC member states. As we look to the future, our vision is clear. Labor must not only contribute to food security, but also serve as a central pillar of its sustainability. By prioritizing rural employment, enhancing labor conditions, and aligning labor policies with food security objectives, we can create food systems that are resilient to economic downturns, climate challenges, and other crises. Together with the unwavering support of our member states and OIC institutions, we can achieve a future where food security is not just an aspiration, but a reality for every citizen. Let us seize this moment to build a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future for all. I would like also to thank the government of United Arab Emirates and partner organizations for providing this excellent platform for addressing one of the important challenges of today. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for pointing out some of the issues the center is tackling. I've taken note of the 3 areas that the center will be working on or is working on when it comes to food security. I'm proud also to mention to the audience that the IOFS and the OIC Labor Center have signed an MOU to join hands, to reduce the double work, to make sure that the meager resources that both agencies have can be, scaled up, work together, synergized for the benefits of our communities in different member states, particularly in implementing the mandate that we have from the member states to pursue the Africa Food Security Initiative, which is distant to our African member states. But of course, I'm sure the statement or by His Excellency will somehow shed some light, and maybe the audience at one point will need to hear a little bit more about that. And of course, we'll come back to that after the presentation by Mr. Davron, that is representing SESRIC. Mr. Davron, of course, we will be very happy to listen to you, to understand a little bit more what SESRIC is doing in terms of monitoring food security indicators in our member states. Through what I understand, there are comprehensive database and analytical reports. In fact, one of those reports we produced together, and we have presented to the 9th Ministerial Meeting on Food Security and Agricultural Development that was held last year in Doha, Qatar. And also, it's important to somehow share with the audience some of the trainings that the center is doing on food security and how to develop food systems. And so please take the floor and share with us what SESRIC is doing in the context of the subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Thank you for the question. I think we all here agree on the critical importance of producing high-quality research and investing in data and analysis, but also it's a challenge actually. The main challenge is bridging gap between the results of the research and innovation with its practical applications through policy making and implementation. So in this regard, SESRIC, as you mentioned, produce analytical reports. I can mention at least 3 of them. Agriculture and food security report, it is a water report, and it's also an environment report, among many others. So these reports do not just provide insights about the issue, but also provide applicable policy recommendations that are presented at the relevant ministerial level meetings at the OIC level. So in coming year, in 2025, I believe all 3 of the ministerial meetings are planned: agriculture and water and environment. So we are also at the implementation part of some of these policy recommendations through our capacity building projects. These are agricultural capacity building projects, water capacity building project, cotton capacity building project, and also environmental capacity building project. So, these activities are primarily helping to build human resource capacities of the relevant ministries of OIC countries. And as you mentioned about the monitoring and the evaluation, we help national statistics offices of OIC member countries through building their capacities. And we have already organized hundreds of activities since their initiation, benefiting 2,000–3,000 experts from relevant ministries and different sectors. Well, also for the monitoring, we have a database, and we annually produce reports about the progress of the OIC countries toward achieving these goals in food security. This is also enshrined in the SDGs, but also as the OIC, we have our program of action. This one is like the last one is 2016-2025, so we measure the progress of OIC countries in this regard. But also, I would like to mention that all the panelists before mentioned that food security is a rather complex issue. It's not about the agriculture. It's not just about the production and yields. It's a complex economic and political and social economic and also even geopolitical issue. So if we look at only one of the indicators, for example, or mentioned, it's Global Food Security Index. So 18 OIC countries are classified as with the weak food security. 13, I remember, as a moderate, and only, I think, 5 OIC countries are classified as having good food security, and UAE is among one of them. Actually, UAE is among also the OIC countries who made the most progress. So the idea here is to choose the successful progress, to choose the selected OIC countries with good successful progress and exchange and take their experience and transfer to other OIC countries. So this is our strategy. This is how we work. But if we, like in the morning, I think Excellency Abdul Hakim from FAO mentioned about 4 A's, 4 C's, 4 T's. Just not to repeat this, we can extend this, just enrich it by they also mentioned about smallholder farmers who actually comprise 76% of all farming activities in OIC countries. So here the challenge is how to bring all this research and innovation and data to the benefits of the farmers, of our clients actually, in the sector. So for here, some OIC countries have specific institutions that are working to connect this research and innovation institutions with farmers. So this is here. It would be a good idea to bring, for example, as well as some of the presenters previously mentioned, financing, together. So because some of the globally the most successful examples here is when you can integrate these two elements together. So I think we can talk a lot about this issue, about the economic aspect, geopolitical aspects, because it's not about just food production. And as was mentioned, it's a food loss. It's one of the measures we can do in this respect, in the economic respect, for example, is to diversification. Diversification of both supply, inputs of agricultural production, and final suppliers of the agricultural products to our countries. So as we learned from the experience of most of our countries who were successful, it's not just about the agriculture. Indeed, it's not just about the production. It's also about this, how they made these successful strategies. So I think together we all the private sector, our institutions, because as a SESRIC and all these OIC institutions, we mostly working with ministerial level, government level institutions, but also there's a need for targeting this more initiatives to target smallholder farmers. So I think we don't have to repeat all the previous presentations, and we can move on with the questions if they would like to.
Thank you, Mr. Davron. You have highlighted important work that the SESRIC is implementing in coordination with the diverse member states of the OIC. Before I open the floor, I want to ask you, both of you, my distinguished panelists, one specific question. If you could give perhaps one recommendation on how member states, together with institutions that are part of the OIC, can work together in terms of addressing the challenges of food security and towards making member states more resilient to these challenges. Excellency, what would be just one recommendation that you can provide, please, from your area of action, of course?
Thank you very much. The previous panelists of the previous session, they mentioned a very nice word, which is partnership. I think the partnership is the key of every success. So of course, we are, as a labor center, we also work mainly with governments, but we also work with, so we have a tripartite approach. We work with trade unions, we work with employer organizations. So the partnership is very important. When you address challenges, you cannot address it from one perspective. You need to cover different perspectives. You need, so in this case, you have a more sustainable solution for the challenge. I think the partnership is most important key. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Mr. Davron.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first, I would like to highlight, I would like to mention that we should understand OIC countries, first of all, have a tremendous potential. I hope our distinguished colleagues agree with me, both in terms of the labor, employment. So in OIC, the employment in agriculture sector is the highest, is higher than the global average, higher than the developed and developing countries average. It's around 32%. And land resources and other inputs. In the land resources, we are again above the global average in terms of the we are responsible for the 27% of the global agriculture land resources. Also, we have employment, we have other inputs, all of them. But the one aspect, which I agree is the partnership, but it should be also integrated partnership, capacity building, all with these aspects I 100% agree. And also, we should be also targeted. So we should produce target policies that have to be implemented, binding policies that have to be implemented, and we should channel, the financing is a critical problem. So it's not anymore these conventional financing mechanisms are working. Yeah, we have in the OIC, our mechanisms. We have relevant institutions who are financing. So in this regard, we should also cooperate with donor organizations, with other institutions to channel this financing, because also many people mentioned that without this providing inputs to farmers, all the other things are cannot be so useful. So we should provide them with all the resources. We should integrate them. Because very simple statistics, most academic research is showing that, the most reliable ones, since the research and innovation or something is done in the field which develops sustainability or the environment, also raises the productivity, until it reaches the wider use by farmers, it takes tens of years, at least 10 years. So it's a long period to lose. So we should focus on shortening this period. And also we should cooperate with other research institutions, because many OIC countries maybe don't have the research institutions. And most of the OIC countries don't have this responsible institutions that connect these research results towards the implementation. So I think in this regard and in this area, we need more efforts. We could mention all the important things, but to be specific, I would highlight these aspects.
Thank you. Just for the convenience of the distinguished audience, please note that this last part that is related to research, national centers from member states, the Islamic Organization for Food Security has a mandate from member states to establish some sort of platform, which is the Association of Agricultural Academies and Research Centers of OIC member states. We are working on that. And very soon, we'll come back with this, because we believe that is an important area, Brother Davron, so that we can, join hands in terms of, research, capacity building, all the matters that were mentioned here, also the partnership. But above all, the issue of funding, I'm sure, is one of the most delicate ones. So we have 3-4 minutes. Perhaps we can give the floor to our audience. Anyone wanting to address the panel? Okay, here in front.
Ok, bonjour.
I'll inform, I'll tell you. Ok, vas-y.
Je vais parler en français.
Vas-y.
Ok, voilà. Merci pour la communication que j'ai bien suivie. et si l'organisation islamique aussi les pays. Maintenant, on sait que la recherche joue un rôle important dans les domaines de l'agriculture. Et nous sommes en train de parler également du développement de l'agriculture en Afrique et particulièrement en Afrique de l'Ouest. Et l'un des éléments clés, c'est la question des recherches. On n'a pas souvent assez de ressources nécessaires pour pouvoir faire la recherche en fonction des liens climatiques. Est-ce que, et à l'aide d'organisations, ils arrivent à financer la recherche dans le monde au niveau de l'Afrique de l'Ouest? Merci bien.
Merci, mon cher frère. Basically, our distinguished representative of Burkina Faso is asking whether, in this context of research, particularly for member states from Western Africa, do we have some sort of financing to help the research in agriculture from the perspective of each of our organizations? Please, Excellency. Or I think it's more SESRIC.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. When we speaking about the research, yes, we have a research mandate. We are doing the research, but unfortunately, SESRIC is not a funding organization. We don't fund external research, but we sometimes make a joint research, joint collaborations in the aspects we can learn the experience of the successful West African countries. They are very active in our activities, but we don't fund. But there are other institutions within OIC. They have funding mechanisms for the research. They have a COMSEC, which is Economic Commission for within OIC. We have Islamic Development Bank. They have these funding mechanisms, but unfortunately, as a researcher, we are not just a research institution, but we don't fund the research of external activities.
Yes. But what you're saying is correct, but just wanted to say to my distinguished colleague from Burkina Faso, we are institutions that we work based on mandates. So if Burkina Faso, as a member state, wishes to have the support from the institutions, of course, an official mandate or request submitted to respective institutions, we will, of course, look into that and see how we can support within our areas of respective action. Excellency, please.
Of course, the agriculture is beyond our mandate, but still there are issues which is relating to labor and employment in the sector. So, for example, we do research. For now, we are at the final stage of our joint project with International Labour Organization, which is about jobs and climate change. Actually, we are doing research of in five countries. It's Central Asia and Azerbaijan. So it's one of the most challenging issues when about job resilience, about the climate change and how it affects the jobs in communities. So of course we finance such projects, but it's usually not just one country based. It's just when we cover countries from region. I think if there will be some official request from the esteemed country, we can assess that.
Thank you, Excellencies. I wish to thank you all for attending this important panel. First and foremost, my distinguished panelists that have been with us this morning. I wish also to acknowledge His Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture from Cameroon, a dear friend from IOFS, distinguished Minister of Agriculture of Uganda, and then representatives. Excellency from Cameroon. Cameroon now, for IOFS, becomes an important country because we had this year the Council of Foreign Ministers in Yaoundé, where it was approved an important event that every year will celebrate on 11th of December, OIC Food Security Day. So it was approved in Yaoundé, and this 11th of December, inshallah, we'll start celebrating the date, and also 11th of December marks the day that the IOFS was established 10 years ago in Guinea-Conakry. So I wish to invite you all to mark the day, to reflect on the challenges that we are facing when it comes to food security, to recall the issues that we discuss here, and to think as member states, as different institutions, what we can do all together to improve the livelihood of our own people that are in dear need of food. Thank you very much, distinguished people. Thank you.